So what would be your top 3 client service tips?
Top 3 client service tips. First and foremost, and I think some business owners, principals, departments overlook it. They invest time, they invest funds, they invest money into marketing and advertising and expanding their profile and brand, and they forget about investing money into client service as being an extension of marketing and advertising. And what I mean by that is client service is investing money into your current clients. Marketing and advertising is to bring in new business, but client service and I talk about it often, it's the little things that the 10%, that 90% aren't doing that wow the client. And often that can cost an agency money. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. It can be little chocolates, it can be Tim Tams, it can be a pack of jelly beans, it can be gift vouchers. But by investing into client service, it's going to build your brand, your service level, and ultimately at the end of the day, the marketing advertising is increase your referrals. The other thing, service tip is most of the time, landlords and tenants only hear from us when something has gone wrong. Yeah. I think traditionally there is not a lot of agents that just pick up the phone and undertake what I call, that they're actually called happy calls. Yep. But there's 2 purposes for the happy call. So the first one is, hi, it's Debbie from PPM Group Real Estate. Just touching base because we want feedback on, so we're ringing a landlord. We want feedback on what we're doing well and what we can do a little better. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? And then you'd go through, how do you find your experience with our agency? Do you find our newsletters informative? How do you find our team members treat you? And you can come up with your own list of questions. Yep. So that's the first purpose, is ultimately we're delivering a care factor of service. Yep. But the underlying of the happy call is what I call the upsell. And I consult with a lot of business owners that say, Deb, we're struggling at the moment, sales are slowing down, we're losing a lot of managements at the moment. What are the strategies that we can go out into the community? What are the activities we can do to build up the rent roll? And often I say the business is right under your very nose, where part of those happy calls, or you might call them service surveys of the upsell, is to make more money from the clients that you currently have. And McDonald's do this really, really well. Like if you go through McDonald's and we don't do McDonald's because that's fast food. Yep. When was the last time you had McDonald's?
I actually can't remember. I actually cannot remember. So
you're not a McDonald's. When was the last time you had Hungry Jack's?
Oh, that was even longer than McDonald's.
KFC.
Oh, so I couldn't answer that question. That could have been last week.
Okay, so you're a KFC man. KFC man. Okay, but McDonald's do it really well, and they've got an awesome training strategy. And if you were to go through in McDonald's and say, can I have a Big Mac, filet fish, quarter pound of French fries? They would go, do you want apple pie with that? Or can I have a Big Mac meal? They will try and upsell you to the grande. So the first one is we care, service delivery. The second purpose of the call is upsell, to make more money. So during that call, we're going to ask the landlord, do they own any other investments? Because a lot of landlords do the landlord hop. They buy from
wherever.
A Realty, B Realty. and they let them have the management of the property. The next one, do they know of anyone else that owns an investment property? And I'll talk about how we transfer from cold, warm, hot clients in another episode. But some of the other questions we can ask, the only reason I mention that is by asking a landlord, do they know anyone else that has a management property? They might say, I'm Betty. Yeah. That's transferring it from a cold to a warm call, because you'll ring Aunt Betty and Aunt Betty, well, you go Debbie from PPM Real Estate, and she's going to go, I don't want to, I was talking to your Uncle Peter, and then all of a sudden it's a warm call. Other questions you can ask, are they looking to buy or sell? Would they like a complimentary appraisal? So there is so much business that, or profits or income that can be generated just by working the landlords as well as tenants, because the dynamics of tenants have changed dramatically from 20 years ago. Tenants now are renting that have multiple investment properties, they're in between trying to buy. So we really need, and we should treat everyone equally. I mean, that's one of my philosophies. It doesn't matter if you're a beggar on the street or you're a multimillionaire. You just should treat everyone equally, and I think tenants need to be given the same respect and consideration as a landlord. But client service, and I've mentioned it many times, it's the wow factor. What's the top 10% you can do? How can you wow them in every single process? And this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer episode, but this is one of my favourite stories.
What's that?
When I established the PPM group, which obviously specialises in property management systems and training, consulting, due diligence, lots of learning resource tools. Back in 2000, I was very fortunate to read a book called The E-Myth, and it's all about why most small businesses fail and what you need to do about it. And I guess that is what I've developed the foundation of the PPM group on. But the book has been written literally on the success principles that has made McDonald's the global empire they are today. Now, recently, and I'm gonna challenge you in a minute, because recently I did a workshop, and I said, if you could think of the top 3 key businesses that are successful, who would they be? So I've already said McDonald's. Apple, they said Apple, yes.
And Google.
And they said Google. But I want one more. You've covered them all. They said Apple, Google. Oh, they also said Amazon. But I'm looking for one other that's service focused. When you think of service, the look, the feel.
FedEx.
They deliver mail. Everyone out there, they know. They're going, Damien, you've got to say it. Service. Who is the legend? He's American. He was just inducted onto the Hollywood Walk of Fame a couple of weeks ago.
No.
My partner has been photoed with him. Where does my partner work? You can't even remember. You don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Virgin. Richard Branson. He has one of the ultimate models of client service. And sometimes in my training I say, imagine if Richard decided to set up a property management business, Virgin Property Management. It has everything. It has the culture, it has the morale, it has the presentation, it has the services, it has the training. He is a legend like McDonald's, and I don't even know who set up Mr. McDonald. Was it Mr. Who set up?
I don't know who set up McDonald's actually.
Was it Mr. McDonald?
Maybe.
Mr. and Mrs. McDonald?
Don't know.
Anyway.
I actually don't know.
So there's more to this episode, but I think we might wrap it there because if they stay tuned for another episode, I'm going to share a little story that I probably embellish a little bit from one of my favourite books called The E-Myth.
Cool.